Good day to you, Jason, here at Birchfield Family Farm in Oxford, Ohio. We're running grass-fed Red Devon cattle, St Croix sheep, chickens, and pigs in a rotational grazing system. Good word today comes from John 15. These are Jesus' words. I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit he prunes, so that it will be even more fruitful. Reminded today the pruning that takes place this time of the year on the farm. January is typically our coldest month. We're pruning fruit trees, we're pruning grapevines. Sometimes even some of the livestock are lost sometimes due to being weakest stock, just get pruned out. That's the way it is on the farm here. And it can be kind of a harsh reality in the moment, but I want to remind you today that everything in the kingdom gets pruned. If it's dead, it's cut off, and if it's bearing fruit, Jesus said it gets pruned so that it bears even more fruit. So this activity, this practice is done in anticipation. So I'd encourage you today, don't be discouraged with the pruning. Lean into that with anticipation that the Lord's going to bring even more good. Just a brutally cold day here on the farm today, quite a bit of wind. Coming out of the southwest, wind chill. Let's say we're in the low teens here. I think we did come close to single digits overnight. We are still doing our stockpile grazing here. I wanted to update you guys. You can see animals over this way. They'll follow me over as we make our way over. Where are we at in the season here? We're coming up on maple syrup season, and that's always an exciting time of the year, because it's that first time of the year where we finally start popping above freezing during the day, below freezing at night. It's kind of that first taste of, hey, this winter thing, it may not last forever here. So we love it when maple syrup season comes around. So we'll be getting into that. That's usually beginning of February. It can be late January sometimes, depending on what the temperature's doing. Okay, let's get them moved here. We have frozen ground now. So that's one thing I wanted to provide you guys with. We had that idea of doing the O'Brien Treadline posts instead of these fiberglass posts on the netting. I'll get down here and show you what ended up happening. A few of these moved first. You can see them digging right in. Here come the sheep. Okay, now you can see what happened here. Look at my post. So when we get into frozen ground here, these posts, these fiberglass posts, it just broke right off. Looks like it's right above where the metal goes into that fiberglass. So what we did here, and I did not zip tie this, but I'm just basically using these Treadlines, and these Treadlines do step in quite a bit easier, but I'm just bringing these back and I'm just hooking them on those Treadlines, and I think that is working for now. I really don't want to I had 50 of those Treadlines we sharpened. We were going to run them all the way down through here, but we're just about at the end, and I don't really want to take the time to zip tie. We're going to zip tie these to the fiberglass post. I really don't want to do that right now and then have to take it all down. So I think we'll just kind of muscle through here. But know that when the ground freezes, you're better off using the Treadlines because these posts will break. Okay, I wanted to walk out here and show you guys we are day 78. Day 78 on the stockpile. You can see we've kind of gone around the windmill there. I'm going to hop over the fence here and we'll give it a move. We got some trickiness at the other end there. We'll go over because I think we're at the end here. All right, so I'm walking through our windmill paddock now. You can see animals are going to follow me up. This is it's a 1/4 acre paddock here around the windmill. So that's our 12th paddock in our rotational grazing system there. And so you can see where our fence is at up there, and I'm kind of coming around here. I'm not sure that we'll graze this yet. It's got a couple hot wires around it. But now coming up here, remember, this is our short grass section. And see how it tapers back that way. it's kind of a pie shape here, and I think I'm going to give them this today. So I think what I want to do is disconnect the fence here where it comes together and try and take this fence down that side there first. Now the trouble is going to be all the animals are going to rush in here. If they would get down in that section, cattle could really trap sheep down in there. I'm going to put the phone down. We'll get them this fence situated, and then we'll come back and talk animals here. Okay, so step number one done here. We got that net moved over, blocking this side of that windmill paddock, giving them access to all of this today. And then you can see I've still got this pie-shaped electro net here, so I'll start at that end, just so, because sheep will probably follow me this way a bit, and I don't want cattle or sheep trapped in this this little section down here. Let's get this net cleaned up. All right, so fence is out of here. You can see it's exactly what happened. Sheep came down to that point there. Okay, so why give them this bigger section, this bigger area here? We're coming into some really harsh weather coming up through the weekend, depending on who you're listening to, 10, 12 inches of snow. Some models are predicting. With the news today, we employ something called the exuberance quotient, right? Whatever everybody's saying, divided by 2. Cattle. Okay, let's talk cattle. You'll see there's only 8 head out here instead of our 10. We made a sale to a buyer in Cleveland, came down, and great sale. We sold off Hank the bull, and then one of Emma's calves, and that's going to be a great fit for them up there. It sounds like I'll say Mr. Geo up there in Cleveland. Congrats on your purchase. Thank you. Look at the gut on her. That's just great. Just really thriving on the stockpile here. Some shorter stuff here, but it's good stuff. Just want to give them a little more here heading into this storm, and we'll take you up there and show you kind of the way we're setting things up in anticipation for this. Yeah, with selling a couple of those cattle, we just are going more in the direction of sheep. I want to continue to add to our sheep numbers here, between 50 and 60 head of St Croix here, but sheep have been much more productive. Is that the word? Profitable, productive, prolific, all the things. Why is that? 2 primary reasons. Sheep gestation is half the time of cattle, and they typically produce twice as many offspring. One of the main reasons I was really happy to make a sale on a couple of these cattle this time of year to our Cleveland buyer. Number one, it helps them to get started. I love it that our stock are getting to be in many other places around the state and the country now. That's pretty neat to see and to know that we're helping other people get started with the wonderful animals here. But also, we're just finishing up our stockpile here, and so we're coming into our hay season now, which this year is going to be about half what it normally is because we've been able to stay on the stockpile. But that gets rid of that bull. He was about 2.5 years old, and then also that other heifer. So we get rid of 2 head of cattle here coming into our expensive time of the year, which is hay season, and so I don't have to feed those animals. Cattle prices are high, but that main reason there was just heading more towards sheep. We had done an analysis a while back on cattle versus sheep. You guys know I kind of geek out on the spreadsheet side of things, and that can be somewhat useful. It's not all reality there, but I think there can be. The key there is recognizing trends. Okay, and we did a study. I did a study over 15, or a spreadsheet analysis over 15 years, and compared sheep with cattle. I assumed 1.4 lambs per ewe, lambing rate every year, and started with, on each side, it wasn't really equal because I started with 4 animals on cattle and on sheep and comparing them, and you'd have much less live weight on the sheep. So it's even more so in the, giving cattle every benefit of the doubt is what I'm trying to say. So on the analysis, I started with 1 ram, 3 ewes, 1 bull, 3 females, 3 heifers. And we just ran those numbers over time, and I'll put that graphic up here, but this is basically what we came up with. You can see on a meat yield, 314,038 pounds of meat on the sheep side, 49,320 pounds of meat on the cattle side. Again, that's giving cattle every benefit of the doubt. That's like what, over 6x on the meat yield, sheep versus cattle over 15 years, 6.37 times the meat that you get out of sheep. And you look at them, it's like, well, how's that possible? Cattle are so much bigger. We've talked about this before. Einstein called compound interest the 8th wonder of the world. These sheep are multiplying, again, half the gestation of cattle and multiplying at 2 to 3 times the number of offspring every reproductive cycle here. So you've got compounding happening at a much greater rate with sheep than with cattle. Sheep are tougher to contain. I'll just be upfront with that. I think cattle are more, better suited for older folks. Cattle are, just because you can contain them easier. You got to have a lot more equipment and stuff to deal with bigger animals. But you can contain cattle with a single hot wire. And sheep are going to be quite a bit more wily, squirrely. I don't know what the word is, especially at higher stock density rates. You need more wires to keep sheep in, a little bit more of a pain. Sheep can be more prone to predation and losses, maybe you could say that. Barber pole worm, some of the parasites, sheep are going to be a little more susceptible. Cattle seem to be quite a bit hardier. So there's good and bad. Maybe the point here too is like, we got duped somewhere along the line into believing that 8 to 10% per year compounding in returns in the stock market were really where it's at, right? When we have a created order here that reproduces in multiples of 100%. Okay, so 200 and 300% return per year on a ewe. And I want to look at that. There's one there. That one's looking good. That looks good. We just watched her do that. That looks really good. Oh yeah, perfect. Perfect, out of joy. So yeah, we're still looking good on the pats, but sheep can be very, very, very productive on a grass system, even more so than cattle. Much, much more, especially over time. Again, as you allow them to compound. That's the way we're headed here. Scaling back a little bit on the cattle side, ramping up sheep. Mild flavored meat that's won numerous taste tests the St Croix have, and talked a little bit about their immune systems last time, and the ability to resist parasites as well. Just been a great fit for us here, doing all grass fed, no grain, no chemical dewormers. We do not vaccinate, which I know not everybody agrees with, but that's the way we do it here. If animals can't make it out here, they're not a fit. That's just the way it is. And you'll find when you run several years with that philosophy, there'll be some pain up front. Usually, not if you buy from a reputable producer and they're managing in the way that you want to manage. I say that's one of the biggest things with sheep is I always tell folks, find somebody that's managing as closely to how you want to manage. And then, if you do that, then the years that other person was producing, they become your years, right? That other person was culling and developing their flock intentionally on grass. Those years that they put in become your years. And to me, that's worth paying a little more for. We are most certainly not your low-cost leader in sheep. That's not what we are here, but if you're wanting to get started with really, really great stock, we're here. If you need us, reach out. Okay, and then talking stockpile numbers, I think we said day 78 today. Now we were 440 feet over to this post here, and that was when we started November the 6th. We came all the way across through the winter here, and we hit this post at 440. Now I believe this paddock here around the windmill, I believe we're close to 80 feet going across. So I had been telling you guys 500 feet, all the way across from fence line to fence line. I think we're looking at more like 520. So we're going to be a little bit over 500 feet. We're going to do another video, and I'm going to have all of the metrics, all the numbers, everything when it's finished up. I'll bring all those numbers to you guys so you have something to go off of to plan for your own winter stockpile grazing here. But the main points are, we did a short section, which they're on now, and then the long section over there. And I'd say it was maybe about halfway down through here where we did that. We just mowed shorter up here, kept the animals, the sheep on longer up here on this side. I think we will do that again. That wasn't fit because when we're moving this way, across the field, then it gives them access to both long and short, and they can self-select a little more on what they want, what's desirable. And even on this section here, you can see this is getting a little bit longer down in here. And we got a few animals down in here, but most of them are up here on that short stuff. The shorter is going to be higher in protein, higher in energy, though this time of the year you can really see that green color starting to fade here. But late January, I'm just tickled to have anything, to have them on, grazing versus feeding that hay. You guys know over the years, I've just kind of come to the point of just not really liking feeding out the hay. And I had people on here too that just have worked me up one side and down the other on this stockpile here, saying, it just pains me to see your cattle, out in the cold, with snow on them, and those animals need hay. And then you try and have a real conversation and ask, okay, well, what's your TDN on your hay that you're feeding, and it's like they're gone, no conversation, crickets, so you get into the nuts and bolts, and a lot of times people just want to criticize for whatever reason, maybe that's the way that they've always done it. And, calling that into question or showing another system really kind of brings up some insecurities, I think. So, is what it is. I can tell you one thing, these animals are in the best shape I've ever seen them versus when we fed hay. I think there's something to the moisture that's already contained in what they're grazing here. There's something to that. Hay is just, 15, 18% moisture is all. So a lot of dry matter there, but, they hit the water a lot more. And so having that water already kind of, what would the word be? Bioavailable maybe, just it's already in the forage. There's something about that. I don't know if that's able to be studied. Again, I realize this is anecdotal here, but this is just what I've seen. So looking ahead here, looking at probably tomorrow, I think this should keep them busy for a little bit of time here, eating all this down, and then we'll kind of see if, you can do all the figuring and the numbers you want, which on this, I think during the grazing season, we say 400 pounds of dry matter per inch per acre is kind of what we figure. An animal's going to need about 3% of body weight in dry matter per day. And so you can run numbers, and you can kind of get close with that. But the real art is in training your eye. And what I like even better than that is looking out at the animals and letting them tell me what's going on. If they're up, they're restless, and especially if they're vocal, then I know they don't have enough. I need to get out here and I need to move a little more. And sometimes we do that, if I see, typically it's when it's a really cold, windy day like today, they may holler a little bit later. So we'll come out and we'll move the fence some more. What I want to see is I want to see them go down, lay down, and ruminate. And so they need to be peacefully ruminating, minimal vocalizations, and that's telling me they are satisfied. They've had enough, and that's what we want. We don't want them losing condition this time of the year. Speaking of that, let's look at pats. You can see, don't really see much stacked up. That's just about perfect there. So going off, we're looking at animal body condition, which to me looks pretty good. We're looking at their behavior, vocalizations, and are they restless? Are they up? Are they noisy? And then we're also monitoring pats here, which all of those are looking pretty good here. I do want to say, in full disclosure, we are feeding a little bit of hay. I have fed a little bit of hay and this is an important point, that when you switch from one feed source to another, you never want to do that in a hurry. You never want to do it all at one time. I think going from this forage here, which is not very green, though still supporting and giving us what we need, going from that over to the hay is not going to be as big of a deal as when we go the other way, specifically in the spring. There's something called grass tetany you really need to watch out for. That's got to do more with the magnesium deficiency. But look that up. Just know, when you are transitioning from just dry hay and you're going to go over to green, lush pasture, that's when you really need to be careful. Your animals need to have sufficient magnesium and be sufficiently mineralized, which we do all that through that free choice mineral program that we run here. But just know it rarely goes well when you shock treatment just to put them from one feed source straight onto another. So take your time on that. I'm really kind of curious too, as we see if we were to get into more grazing through the winter and we would see a gradual green up to the pasture, could that potentially mitigate those risks that you're dealing with very lush spring forage? In other words, if you had them out here grazing every day, the pasture is going to green up very slowly, over time. And so could we, really not have to worry about that transition, right? If they were grazing and on it every day and used to that gradual green up. I guess that maybe that's the point, right? Is that's the way nature does it, is it's a gradual green up. So don't go from hay to straight green pastures in the spring. Kind of gradually go at it. The art there and the trick there is that a lot of times the animals want that green, and so they'll go to it, and they're not gonna come back to the hay. So you kind of have to figure a way to sort of ease them off of that hay onto the green stuff. Maybe hour or two a day. But point is, be intentional about it. We've talked about this before, but that limiting factor this time of the year is going to be energy. You've got protein and energy are the two main areas you're going to be paying attention to this time of the year, but more so energy, and more so really energy on the sheep side. Cattle need it too, but that's another reason when we talk about timing up the reproductive cycles out here. We don't want anybody nursing, calving, or lambing this time of the year. It most certainly does not work from a protein or an energy perspective. You need to be up in the 60s percentage-wise on TDN for energy for lambing. This does not have that. Though we do see her grazing some of that. There is green down in there that they're getting, which is just phenomenal. Looking around here for a little clover. There you go, guys. There's your there's your late January obligatory red clover there. It's out here, it's out here and it looks really good, which is also amazing to me. And then one other final note here before we go up and show you the setup for the winter storm. We do have our rams turned back in. There's one there. It did go ahead and do that just because I'm very confident that everybody looks to be covered up on the breeding side. I think it's going to be a great lambing season. If you're on our list, even if you've put down a deposit, get excited. I know we're always excited for lambing, and talked about that pruning earlier, and this time of the year being that natural pruning that comes about. And I was thinking about it. It really, though, when we embrace that, it makes spring very joyful, right? Because there's an authentic sense of, hey, we made it through, and everybody's even stronger for it. So looking forward to spring here. Wanted to kind of show on our way back up here the areas where we have grazed. I mean, look at all the manure distribution. When we talk about all that we've saved on hay here, doing this for almost 80 days, grazing, keeping them grazing. But look at the manure distribution all over this field. Now keep in mind, there's not a single drop of diesel was used out here to spread any of this manure. And I was thinking about it too, because it's not stacked up. It's been my experience when cow pats do stack up, when they're not getting enough protein, it just takes longer for it to break down. Because these were more I guess you could say more liquid than solid, maybe, or there was more of a moisture content maybe than in the past when they have stacked up. You can see that one there. My thinking is, that's about frozen solid. My thinking is these are going to break down a little bit better. Just to give you a perspective here, you can see animals way back there on the triangle there, still back there grazing. And then this area here, we had solid, that electronet going all the way across. The water is around the corner there. So we've opened up that net this way, and there's a big opening there, and we've opened the net this way. And you can see we've got it transitioning there over to a 4-strand hot here. I believe with having this much space, we have been able to keep sheep in. Again, not a real high stock density. Otherwise, sheep would could potentially find a way out. You can see we drug a round bale over here. Kiddos and I pushed it. And that's about a 1,200 pound round, 6 feet high. And so the point is, this is the east side, of this barn. I don't want them in the barn, okay, but they're going to be able to tuck out of the wind. That's the point here. 6 foot high round bale here, and then you can see back here, this is we've got our haylage bales here, and again, it's that micro haylage that we make here, but I got a process for that. And so point is, we've got lots of good stuff here. What I like to do is take those and mix it in with the hay, but everything is right here. Right, everything's right here. When we break that bale down, we'll just put that right out in this area, and they can have some good stuff here. It's looking like the next week to 10 days maybe of some really cold temperatures. We've talked about this before, but being able to have your livestock out of the wind, they'll do much better, won't consume quite as much feed. So anyway, that just gives you guys an idea kind of how we are anticipating what we're setting up for. Now, I've mentioned this in the past on these storms, but one thing we've noticed, that's west, that's east, and so most of our weather comes in from this way, but we'll have occasional storms where everything blows straight in from the east, right? And so that gets tricky. And so I think, the way we've got this set up here, they can also go back around, and the water is right through that path there. Concrete pad with an automatic water. Boy, that is the way to do winter water if you're getting things set up. water's up there, and so, you know, they can travel through here, but they can also come over here and hang out on this side of that fence, and that way if we do get something from the east, they still can tuck out of that wind there. And, you know, it comes in from the south. They can come up here to the north. They may have a little trouble getting out of a north wind, but usually comes in from the west. But some of these storms with that rotation, you know, we saw one storm where we had all this prep work done, and then the entire thing, the wind came in from the east in the snow. And you talk to a lot of the old timers that'll say, yeah, the bigger storms tend to, I don't know if they just have a rotation to them or what. You guys, you weather guys out there can tell us. But sometimes you'll see them blow in from the east there. Anyhow, that's the setup. I do like getting things set up a few days ahead of time. Somebody asked me about these. Are old chicken tractors here. That one needs repaired. You can see the tarp blowing off. But we do need, I do like giving them this area a few days. You can see there, here comes the pack here, all coming up, maybe for some water. They probably see me up here and wonder what's going on. But this is good, like a couple days in advance, right? Because it will let them, you know, I'm not going to call them into here or anything like that. We're just going to let them naturally discover this area. And then it's going to be one of those deals where they're like, hey guys, you know, look at this, we're out of the wind over here. You know, and they figure that out ahead of time, ahead of the storm. You know, the storm's stressful enough. That way they kind of got it figured out. So my advice is don't go out like the day of the storm, you know, and you know, to be chasing them in here and then everybody's all worked up. Just kind of let them discover, do their thing. Yeah, over here on this east side, I'm out of the wind. It's kind of nice. So I think we're all ready. You know, who knows? It may just miss us all together. But you know, this is nice too because we can leave this open pretty much all winter. This is our paddock 5 here, and I'm okay with them being in this area. We're letting our other paddocks recover so we can hit those first thing in spring. Of course, we'll let that windmill paddock or that windmill pasture that they're on recover as well. We won't, you know, we're going to be off that for a few months here and even give that some time in spring to bounce back. Yeah, let's kind of see what they do here as they come up. Curiosity is going to drive them into the space here, so that's good. Good deal. All right, so everybody up in here checking it out. Emma back there taking her time getting up this way. Oh, there's Big Pat coming around the corner too. So doing a little grazing here, not much there to nibble on, but that's of course up to them where they want to go. And looks like we're all ready for the storm here, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you stay safe and warm wherever you are. Yeah, be blessed today. Be at peace. Talk to you next time. Take care.